Hi guys, happy Monday. Welcome back for what is our third week of the Read Aloud story. So this starts the third week. And this morning I wanted to start by going over the winner for the Legend of the Blue Bonnet story. And that one was recorded on Thursday of last week. And you were asked to summarize the story. You could have used somebody wanted but so then, or first, next, then, and last. So I'm going to give you an example of what that story should have sounded like when you were summarizing it. So first off, there is a young Native American girl whose tribe is experiencing a drought. Next, the little girl realizes that she must do something to help because her family, a lot of her family has passed away from it. Then she takes her doll and sacrifices her by burning her because they said that if you burnt the thing that was most special to you, that would help send rain. Last, rain comes and the tribe is able to grow their crops and the hillside is covered in blue bonnet flowers where she spread the ashes from her doll. Okay. If you use somebody wanted but so then, it would have sounded very similar to that. The somebody being the Native American girl wanted to make the drought situation better, but it was really hard because she had to give up the things she loved most. Then she decided to sacrifice the doll. Somebody wanted but so, and then she sacrificed the doll, and the land was valuable again, and it rained. So something along those lines was perfect. I didn't have anybody whose summary didn't meet those expectations. So everybody who sent a summary in for me, it sounded great. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and draw a winner from that story. And our winner from The Legend of the Blue Bonnet is Chris. So congratulations to Chris. I will make sure to get something out to you in the mail today, Chris. So Chris is our winner for The Legend of the Blue Bonnet. Now, Friday's story was Hurricane. I have not chosen a winner for Hurricane. I will draw for Hurricane tomorrow, Tuesday. And Hurricane's challenge is to create an ending. It kind of leaves on a cliffhanger. So if you would like to go back and complete the Hurricane one from Friday and send it to me today, Monday, April the 20th, I will still put you in for the drawing for that tomorrow. Okay? Now, today's story that I'm going to read to you is My Rotten Redheaded Older Brother. And the author is Patricia Polacco. She's the same author that wrote Thank You, Mr. Falker, that we read together in school. And she also wrote The Pain and the Great One, which was the first video story that I recorded for you. Very similar, a lot of similarities to The Pain and the Great One. My brother and our mother and I all lived with my grandparents on their farm in Union City, Michigan. Now, my babushka, my grandmother, knew lots of things. She knew just how to tell a good story, and she knew how to make ordinary things magical. And she knew how to make the very best chocolate cake in Michigan. After she told my brother and me a grand tale from her homeland, we always would ask her, "Bubby, is that true?" She answered, "Of course it is, but it may not have happened," and then she would laugh. Now, I knew that she loved me all right, but I couldn't quite understand how she could even like my older brother, Richard. He had orange hair that was like wire. He was covered in freckles, and he looked like a weasel with glasses. The one thing that my bubby didn't seem to know was how perfectly awful my brother really was. Mind you, he was always nice whenever she was around us. But as soon as she'd leave, he would go do something terrible to me and would laugh. And there he is holding her doll upside down. There were so many things that I couldn't stand about him. The worst was that he was always telling me that he could do just about everything better than I could. "Bet I can pick more blackberries than you," he jeered at me one day. "No, you can't." "Can so." "Can not." "Can too," he whispered. "Not," I said louder. "Can," he whispered so low that I could hardly hear him. "Not," I would scream back. We both picked berries for most of the afternoon, and well, he upped and did it. He not only picked more blackberries than I did, he set a record that wasn't even challenged for the next 10 years. "You make me sick, Richard Barber," I yelled at him. And then he smiled that smile that only a rotten, red-headed older brother could smile. I guess I would have to face it. He could run the fastest, he could climb the highest, he could throw the farthest, he could sit the longest. He could get the dirtiest, he could burp the loudest, and he could spit the farthest. He had no equal, certainly not me. And I'm 4 years older than you, always have been and always will be, he sneered. There had to be something I could do that he couldn't. Then an inspired thought comforted me, like a fresh breeze on a hot summer day. "Oh, Richie," I cooed as I stood next to the rhubarb bushes. "Do you like rhubarb?" "No," he said. "It's the sourest stuff on the planet." Bet I knew. Now I knew at long last that I had him. "Bet I can eat more of this rhubarb than you without getting the pukers," I challenged. "I don't think so." "I do." "I don't," he said, narrowing his eyes. "I do," I insisted. "Don't," he hissed, looking smug. "Do," I said furiously as I grabbed the first stalk and started chewing it, almost down to the leaf. When I couldn't get one more sour bite into my mouth, he was still eating with relish. "I thought you said you don't like rhubarb," I said through pursed lips. "I don't like it. I love it," he announced as he popped the last stalk into his mouth. I was so mad I couldn't even feel how my belly was starting to ache. "I can't stand you, Richard Barber. I double dog can't stand you," I screamed as I went into the house to be consoled by my grandmother. "Yeah, and I'm 4 years older than you too, you little twerp. Always have been and always will be," he called after me. And then he laughed that rotten, red-headed older brother laugh. That night at dinner, I could hardly eat. "Have you been eating angry apples again, child?" Bubby asked me as she sliced a huge wedge of rhubarb pie. "I baked your favorite." Richard gave me his extra rotten, weasel-eyed, greeny-toothed grin. At bedtime, my Bubby came and sat on the edge of my bed like she did every night. "Look, a falling star," she said. We watched it streak across the sky. Then she spit twice between her fingers and gave her chest a large slap. "Why did you do that, Bubby?" I asked. "I was making a wish. Didn't you know that wishing on falling stars can come true?" At last I knew how I was going to get back at my brother. For the longest time, I watched the dark sky until I saw a star shoot across the night. Then I spit between my 2 fingers and slapped my chest, and it was done. My wish was to do something, anything better than my brother. I'd show him. The next morning, all I could think about was my wish. I was thinking about it so hard I almost didn't notice the wagons and the trucks pulling into the field across the road near Four Corners. "A traveling carnival," my brother shouted as he ran towards me. "They are setting up right here in our field. Bet I can eat more hot dogs than you," he teased. He was already starting it, but this time I was going to do something so incredible that even he would have to sit up and take notice. I had a star wish. I'd show my rotten, red-headed older brother all right. That night, I ran straight for the merry-go-round. We must have taken 50 turns on that carousel. But then my brother got off. I stayed on. I went around and around and around. "I knew I could do this longer than you," I shouted to my brother, feeling proud but just a little bit dizzy. "Trisha," I heard my Bubby call out. "Get off that thing. It's time to go home." The last thing I remembered was stepping off from the platform. Next thing I knew, I woke up with Bubby sitting on the edge of my bed. Mom and Grandpa were there too. "You gave us all a fright," Mama said. "How do you feel?" "What happened?" I asked. "You fell," my rotten red-headed older brother announced with the biggest grin ever on his face. "I don't know what we would have done," my Bubby said softly. "Your brother carried you all the way home, and then he ran and got Dr. Lee." "You had to have 12 stitches. I watched it all," he said excitedly. "You fell off the merry-go-round right into some pop bottles," my Gramps added. "You even passed out," my brother chirped. "Looks like you finally did something special." It was from that exact moment that our relationship changed somehow. "Thanks, Richie," I said to him. "What's a big brother for anyway?" he said, blushing. That night, we were all out in the yard. On a hot Michigan night, it was my family's custom to sleep outside where it was cool. Look at those stars, Bubby said quietly. Wishes are funny, aren't they? I said. Sometimes they come true differently than you think they will. That's why you have to be very careful what you wish for, because it just may come true, Bubby said. Then she squeezed both of our hands. Hang on to the grass, she whispered. Why, Bub? My brother asked. Because if we don't, we might float up to the stars. Then she leaned over and kissed us both 3 times. I kiss your eyes, and I hold both of your hearts in my good keeping. And this night I thank God that I walk this earth with both of you. Then we all just lay on our blankets in the gentle summer night. I'll always be 4 years older than you, though, my brother whispered softly, and then he smiled. All of us held one another's hands, and then we drifted off to sleep. And there's actually, in the back of the book, I think it's pretty neat, some real pictures of the author with her brother. And I think some of them are when they're adults. All right. So, challenge and question for you today. I'm actually going to give you 2 options. The first option would be to make a text-to-text connection, so comparing one book to another book. And that would be to compare My Rotten, Redheaded Older Brother to The Pain in the Great One, the other Patricia Polacco book that talks about her brother. Okay, so you can make a text-to-text comparison, so tell me something that is similar about both books, compare those 2 books. Or if you didn't watch The Pain in the Great One and you're not willing to go back and watch that story, then you can give me a text to self connection where you tell me about something in the text that reminds you of something in your own life. Okay, remember, you don't have to have a rotten redheaded older brother. You might have a blonde-haired little sister, but maybe you've had a similar situation to what Patricia went through with her brother. Okay, so remember, you don't have to have a brother to have a similar connection. Okay, you don't even have to have a brother or a sister. Maybe you've had a connection like this with a cousin or with a friend. Okay, so either make a text-to-text comparison of My Rotten Redheaded Older Brother and The Pain in the Great One, or make a text-to-self comparison. Compare something in the story that we just read to something that you've experienced in your own life. I look forward to seeing those back from you guys. I hope that you have a really nice Monday and that you enjoyed listening to that story. I love the Patricia Polacco books, and I hope that you did too. Bye.